Welcome and thanks for joining us for this episode of Scope. The Platinum Jubilee of Elizabeth II is being celebrated in 2022 in the Commonwealth to mark the 70th anniversary of the accession of Queen Elizabeth II on 6 February 1952. The celebration plans were formally unveiled in full by Buckingham Palace on 10 January 2022. This is the first time that any British monarch has celebrated a Platinum Jubilee. Initiatives to commemorate the Platinum Jubilee were also announced by the governments of other Commonwealth nations and territories, including Australia, Canada, Cayman Islands, New Zealand, and Papua New Guinea.
In her Accession Day message, the Queen said that she hopes the Platinum Jubilee will bring together families and friends, neighbors and communities. She said that the Jubilee affords me a time to reflect on the goodwill shown to me by people of all nationalities, faiths and ages in this country and around the world over these years. She thanked everyone for their support, loyalty and affection and signed the message, "Your servant." Reaching this milestone puts Queen Elizabeth II in rare company, as only 3 monarchs are documented to have reigned more than 70 years. Her Majesty is already the longest-serving British monarch, overtaking Queen Victoria in 2015. She would surpass Louis XIV, the Sun King, in less than 3 years. Her reign spans the post-World War II era. When the Queen welcomed U.S. President Joe Biden to Windsor Castle, he became the 13th American president to meet her. She has met every president since Harry Truman, save for Lyndon Johnson, and has been served by 14 prime ministers, starting with Winston Churchill. Accession Day, however, has always been a melancholy anniversary for the Queen, as much about the death of her father as her own accession to the throne. The New York Times wrote 70 years ago, a young English princess climbed into treetops, a remote game viewing lodge in Kenya, built into the limbs of a fig tree overlooking an elephant watering hole. The next morning she came down as a queen, though she only learned of the death of her father, George VI, later that day on the 6th of February 1952. In marking the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, members of the royal family have undertaken a series of royal tours of Commonwealth countries. Visiting Papua New Guinea to commemorate the Queen's 70th Platinum Jubilee is the second child and only daughter of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, and Princess Royal. The Princess Royal is 17th in the line of succession to the British throne and has been Princess Royal since 1987. On 11th April 2022, the Princess Royal arrived at the Jacksons International Airport, APEC Terminal, where Prime Minister James Marape and the official receiving party waited patiently to welcome her. The Papua New Guinea Defence Force fired a 21-gun salute as soon as the Princess Royal was on the tarmac. Her Royal Highness received a royal salute as she proceeded to the dais, escorted by Chief of the PNGDF, Major General Mark Goyner. While Rachel Marape, wife of Prime Minister James Marape, escorted Her Royal Highness's husband, Vice Admiral Timothy Laurence. The Princess Royal inspected the Guard of Honor with the escort of Major General Goyner and Lieutenant Colonel Velmur Kagena. There was a special presentation of flowers to the Princess Royal by students before she departed for the Government House at Konedobu to have audience with Governor General Sir Bob Dodai and his wife Lady Emmeline. The first day of the royal visit panned out well, ending with Her Royal Highness and Vice Admiral Timothy Laurence in an audience with Prime Minister Marape and his wife, who hosted a private dinner to honor them. At Caritas, the student body was well prepared to receive Princess Anne. The school put on a routine that showcased regions of PNG in her honor, as she would be unable to visit all areas of our diverse country. The Princess Royal was given a tour of the school's facilities, including the gymnasium, while students performed items.
This is the place that gives you the skills to build on your skills and to give you choices about what we will be doing in your adult life. But it's also about enjoying being part of the educational process, enjoying making new friends, and respecting each other wherever you come from. And as we've seen today, you come from all over Papua New Guinea. Thank you for the way in which you too are celebrating Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. It's a pleasure to join you, as I say, and an honour to represent her on this occasion. Thank you.
Following her speech was a procession of traditional performances and special gift presentation by the school principal, Sister Florentine. With the second day of the royal visit well underway, the royal entourage proceeded to the Port Moresby General Hospital. The Princess Royal was received by Catherine Johnson, Deputy Chairman of PMGH, and Hospital CEO Dr. Paki Molumi, to open the National Cardiac Diagnostic Center. Princess Anne, while on tour of the hospital, was invited to unveil a plaque signifying the opening of the National Cardiac Diagnostic Center. The Port Moresby General Hospital is regarded as a Level 7 teaching and referral hospital in the country that employs about 1,500 plus workers, including doctors, nurses, administration, and facilities. PMGH CEO Dr. Paki Molumi escorted the Princess Royal to the front of the building, where he delivered his remarks, followed by the unveiling of the plaque.
It's a pleasure to come back and recognise the work that you've been doing here at the hospital, particularly in the cardiac area. The progress has been amazing, even since I was last here. But I see it's a constant process, more to come. But it's a pleasure to see what you have achieved in actually a remarkably short space of time. Well done.
As the day progressed, Her Royal Highness made a brief visit to the St. John Ambulance Control Center at Tarama Road 3 Mile, where Dr. Linda Sirigoi, St. John Ambulance CEO Matthew Cannon, and Dr. Mangu Kendino welcomed her. She toured the new facility, escorted by Commissioner Cannon. Dr. Linda Sirigoi, in her remarks, stated that St. John's 250 team of staff and counselors strive to achieve and maintain an organization that is able to provide emergency and life-saving services of the best and the highest standards to the people of PNG.
We have had many challenges over the years, and it is only in recent times that St. John's has been able to grow into the organization that it is today. And this is largely credited to the passion and the dedication of our team of Green Angels, who selflessly put themselves out in the front line, many a times risking their own lives to save the lives of others. Your visit today to St. John's headquarters is of great significance, and without a doubt will leave a memorable occasion for many of us.
Her Royal Highness was pleased and impressed with St. John Ambulance, stating that it is not an easy task they carry out.
The first time I came here to know that this is not an easy thing to do, to provide a countrywide coverage. And the way in which you built on that has been hugely impressive, so my congratulations. Good luck with your new headquarters. But this requires a lot of commitment to provide the service and the support that you do.
With stations in all 4 regions of PNG, hundreds of St. John ambulance professionals and volunteers proudly and passionately serve the communities on the road and in the air.
When we come back, the Princess Royal takes a walk in history, including a visit to Meteorea Hill, where the first British missionaries from the London Missionary Society arrived. The next leg of events for the second day of the royal visit took Princess Anne and husband, Vice Admiral Timothy Laurence, to Vabukori, a Motu Koitabu coastal village in the Moresby South electorate, where Her Royal Highness opened the new Women's Resource Centre. This was followed by visits to Meteorea Hill at Hanuabada village, and it was in this location that the first British missionaries from the London Missionary Society arrived. The Princess Royal took another walk in history as she visited the Bomana War Cemetery, stopped over at the Adventure Park where Moresby South member Justin Chachenko received her, and then proceeded to the PNG National Museum where she was intrigued by the Lakatoi and many other historical artifacts.
Princess Anne last visited the country in 2005 when on a 23-hour visit to mark PNG's 30th anniversary of independence, and also highlighted the challenge of tackling HIV and AIDS during her visit and made a point of meeting people living with HIV. In receiving the Princess Royal, the Deputy Governor for NCD and Chairman of Motu Koitabu Assembly, Daddy Toka Jr., and the Vabukori Women's Development Association Vice President for the Women's Resource Centre, Molly O'Rourke, welcomed the royal guests. The VWDA is a community-based non-government organization that aims to create opportunities for women to be empowered and to develop their skills in sewing, cooking, grooming skills, and arts and craft for a better future for themselves and their families. Established in 2002, this association has dreamed of owning a resource center in the community for the past 18 years and has now finally come into fruition in 2022. Princess Anne toured the establishment and was greeted by young students of the Early Childhood Education Program and staff before unveiling of the plaque to officially open the Women's Resource Centre. Chairman Daddy Toka Jr. and Governor of NCD Powers Pakop were ready to receive the Princess Royal at Hanuabada village. Her first stop was with Hohodai clan, where she was graciously welcomed with traditional performances. She then moved on to Meteorea Hill to unveil the annexation plaque to end the morning program. On 6th November 1884, Commodore James Elphinstone Erskines, the Commodore and Captain in the Royal Navy, read out the proclamation on behalf of Her Most Gracious Majesty Victoria and officially established the British Protectorate at London Missionary Society House, Meteorea Hill.
On this very site, 138 years ago, the people of Motu Koitabu attended a ceremony that placed us into the history books. The Union Jack flag was raised on this site to proclaim Papua as a protectorate of Her Majesty Queen Victoria. 138 years later, we are at the same site to acknowledge and celebrate the activities of the 1884 flag raising ceremony. The establishment of the protectorate at our doorstep gave us the first education services. It gave us the first health services and the first local government. Our people were the first to advance in the stages of human, social and cultural development, and at the forefront of embracing Christianity in Papua New Guinea.
Princess Anne unveiled a plaque commemorating the proclamation of 6 November 2022, marking also the 138th year anniversary of LMS in PNG, and the people of Hanobara and officials bore witness to the significant occasion.
It's an honour for me to represent Her Majesty wherever, but it's a particular pleasure to do so here in Papua New Guinea and to receive your respects and good wishes for her in this her Platinum Jubilee year.
As the afternoon approached, the royal entourage paid a visit to the Bomana War Cemetery. This cemetery is a war graves commission from World War II near Port Moresby. The cemetery contains the graves of those who died fighting in the former territory of Papua and on Bougainville Island. The remains of 3,824 Commonwealth soldiers, 699 of them unidentified, are buried in the cemetery. The Princess Royal proceeded to the Cross of Sacrifice, where she laid a wreath on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen, followed by visiting graves of British soldiers and signing in the visitors' book, and as gracious as she is, took a moment to greet a PNG veteran. Princess Anne continued her day's engagements with a brief visit to the Adventure Park, PNG's only theme park-style attraction, where she was received by Minister for Housing and Urban Development and National Events, Justin Tichenko. Since it opened as a joint venture between the SDA Church and NCDC 9 years ago, the park has grown steadily, expanding its attractions and offerings. The Princess Royal was given a tour of the Bird of Paradise enclosures and a visit to the Orchid Garden, guided by Minister Tichenko. The Princess Royal concluded her visit here with the planting of a tree as part of the Queen's Garden Canopy. The Queen's Green Canopy is an initiative that began in May 2021 in the United Kingdom in honor of the Platinum Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II in 2022. To increase and protect the native tree cover, people will be urged to create this special gift for the Queen to mark her 70 years on the throne. The PNG National Museum and Art Gallery was built in the year our country gained its independence in 1975 and was then later opened to the public after 2 years, housing artifacts from 22 provinces in PNG. Museum Director Dr. Andrew Motu gave the Princess Royal a tour of the Tumbuna Gallery and explained the history behind the artifacts. The museum's founding collections were collected by First Administrator for British Papua Sir William McGregor between 1889 and 1898. This spiritual house is home to anthropological collections, archaeological objects, natural history specimens, historical material, and contemporary artworks.
After the break, Princess Anne honors PNG's longest-serving MP, Sir John Thomas Pundari, before she makes her departure. On the eve before her departure back to the UK, the Princess Royal and her husband, Vice Admiral Timothy Laurence, were invited to the Government House for an investiture ceremony for recipient Sir John Thomas Pundari. This was a significant moment, honoring Sir John as one of the longest-serving members of the National Parliament. Following this momentous ceremony was a state dinner hosted by Governor General Sir Bob Dadai and wife Lady Emmeline at the prestigious APEC House.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now announce the arrival of His Excellency the Governor General and Her Royal Highness, Princess Anne, please rise.
In honor of Her Majesty the Queen, who is graciously pleased, conferred the following appointment and awards to be presented by Anne, Princess Royal. Sir John Thomas Pundari, member for Kompium Ambum, received the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire to be invested with the insignia of a Knight Commander of Civil Division, KBE. Princess Anne conducted the ceremony with Vice Admiral Sir Timothy Laurence, Governor-General Sir Bob Dadai, Lady Emmeline Tufi Dadai, and the family of Sir John Pundari in attendance. This was a significant moment honoring Sir John as one of the longest-serving member of the National Parliament, former Deputy Prime Minister, and former Speaker of Parliament for the past 25 years. The British Empire Medal is associated with the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire and was instituted on the 4th of June 1917 by King George V. The medal is awarded in both military and civil divisions to persons who render meritorious service warranting such mark of royal appreciation who are not already members of the 5 classes of the Order of the British Empire. Sir John was recognized in the Queen's birthday honors and awards in 2019 with Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire. Following the significant ceremony of Sir John's investiture ceremony, Governor-General of Papua New Guinea Grand Chief Sir Bob Dadai and his wife Lady Emmeline held a special banquet in honor of the Princess Royal and Vice Admiral Sir Timothy Laurence at the APEC House. In receiving Her Royal Highness, the Minister for Housing and National Events, Justin Tichenko, announced her arrival in the presence of invited NGOs, business leaders and political members. The Governor-General at the State Dinner welcomed Princess Anne, whose presence made a very significant occasion in the history of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth family, which is the Platinum Jubilee celebration of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. He said that Papua New Guinea has transitioned over the last few decades in relation to economic, political and social development structure, despite the challenges faced involving global matters like climate change, health pandemics, geographical factors and domestic challenges.
The Queen has magnified this sense of commitment and dedication throughout her long and distinguished reign since the day of the coronation to her ascension some 70 years ago. The Queen has fulfilled her promise to dedicate her life to the services of the Commonwealth, despite setbacks and tragedies, both personally and in the public eye, the recent being the passing of His Royal Highness, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip. We remember late Prince Philip for his unwavering support, loyalty, love for Her Majesty as a loving husband, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and a much cherished champion of the Commonwealth family. As a nation, we are graciously honored and proud to have Her Majesty as our Queen and Head of State of the independent state of Papua New Guinea.
Her Royal Highness was invited to give her remarks, where she thanked Sir Bob and all in attendance for the warm welcome and her gratitude in being here in the country to represent Her Majesty the Queen.
My husband and I are very, very pleased to be welcomed in this way, not just by the places we've been to, the groups that we've met, the girls in education we saw this morning, vocational training, the frontline and emergency medical services, and the local village, of course, where the first British missionaries arrived. I will see Her Majesty shortly, and I will be sure to tell her of the warmth and affection for Mrs. Quinn that is so evidently strong here. And of course, I do as our Masters Piccaninny along Mrs. Quinn. PNG is anyway blessed by an abundance of natural resources, which when sustainably harvested will allow great opportunities for everyone. But I would include in those natural resources the people themselves as their greatest asset. And that extraordinarily enormous diversity of people and language that makes up Papua New Guinea lives up to its approach of a friend to all. The support you do show to your visitors, to strangers, is quite extraordinary.
The next day, she was received at the Jackson's International Airport APEC terminal by Major General Mark Goyner before her departure. She proceeded to the dais where she received a royal salute by the Royal Guard of Honor. The Princess Royal departed PNG by chartered aircraft with a 21-gun salute fired as she boarded the plane. On behalf of Papua New Guinea, Prime Minister Honourable James Marape thanked Her Royal Highness Princess Anne for her 3-day royal visit to commemorate the Queen's 70th Platinum Jubilee anniversary.
And that ends Scope this evening. A kind reminder to apply simple measures to prevent the transmission of the coronavirus. Regularly wash your hands with soap and water. Cough or sneeze into your elbow and exercise social distancing. If you are feeling sick, please stay at home. You can also call the COVID-19 hotline number for more information or assistance. Thank you for your company. Bye for now.